What if the ones who act cold are the ones who care the most? They pull away, stop texting first, talk less, and you start to wonder if they've stopped feeling anything at all. But psychology says otherwise, because sometimes distance isn't disinterest, it's defense, a silent war between the heart that still feels and the mind that's trying to let go. Let's decode what really hides behind their silence, the signs that you're still on their mind even when they pretend you're not. Sign 1, the delayed reaction. They see your message. Their heart reacts instantly, but their fingers don't move. Because love doesn't just live in the heart, it hides in hesitation. When someone still has feelings for you, their first instinct is to respond. But right after that impulse, the mind interferes. Don't look too eager. Don't let them know that's the psychological defense mechanism known as emotional regulation. The brain tries to protect the ego from vulnerability, creating a pause, a delay that feels like coldness, but is actually control. They open the chat, close it, type something, delete, wait. Then, hours later, they reply with something casual. Yeah, I've been busy. But that message isn't about being busy. It's about being afraid. Afraid of reopening emotions they're not ready to face. In truth, that delay is where the emotion hides. Because if they truly didn't care, they wouldn't hesitate at all. Indifference reacts instantly. Love, on the other hand, overthinks. So the next time you see that long pause between your message and their reply, remember this: they're not trying to ignore you. They're trying to manage themselves around you. And sometimes that battle takes time. Sometimes silence isn't indifference, it's restraint. Sign 2, the emotional slip. They act composed, calm, distant, untouchable. But something slips. Just for a moment. It could be a tremor in their voice, a breath that catches mid-sentence, or the way their eyes soften before they quickly look away. Psychologists call this emotional leakage, when the truth escapes through micro-expressions or tone before the mind has time to censor it. You see, pretending not to care requires control, but emotion, especially love, lives in the body, in muscle tension, breathing, heartbeat, and tone. And no one can completely control that. So even when they sound detached, there's that one word that comes out softer than the rest. That half second of hesitation when you lock eyes. That nervous swallow that betrays calmness. You might meet again after weeks of silence. They'll act like nothing's changed, but listen closely. Their voice cracks just slightly when they say your name. Their eyes don't just look at you, they linger. That's the heart speaking beneath the armor. These slips don't happen by accident. They're fragments of truth, the body's way of saying what the lips refuse to. Because the more someone tries to bury their feelings, the more their subconscious tries to surface them. And in those tiny, fragile moments, you can see everything they're trying to hide. You can fake your words, but never your tone. Sign 3, the habit loop. Sometimes missing someone doesn't feel like longing. It feels like routine. They go through their day normally, but you keep showing up, not in their messages, but in their mind's quiet repetition. This happens because the brain forms neural habit loops, patterns built through emotional repetition. Every time they thought of you, texted you, or shared a moment, their brain linked that feeling with reward chemicals like dopamine. Now, even in your absence, those pathways still light up. So they'll walk into a cafe and pause for a second, realizing it's the one you used to go to. They'll hear a song that once played in your car, and something inside them stirs. They'll type your name into their phone, then erase it before pressing send. It's not deliberate, it's neurological. You've become a mental habit, a loop their mind can't quite break. They might tell themselves they've moved on. They might even start something new. But the mind doesn't listen to logic, it listens to patterns. And patterns don't fade just because we want them to. That's why people often feel haunted by someone long after things end. It's not obsession. It's the residue of repetition, the emotional muscle memory of love. So when they seem distant but keep orbiting around things that remind them of you, it's not coincidence. It's proof that a part of their mind is still wired to you. Some people don't miss you consciously. They miss you in patterns. Sign 4, emotional projection. Sometimes the loudest "I don't care" comes from the person who still does. When someone hasn't truly let go, their emotions don't disappear, they just change form. Psychology calls this emotional projection, a defense mechanism where people push out what they can't face within themselves. So when their friends mention your name, notice their reaction. They might roll their eyes, give a casual shrug, or say something like, "Oh, that's old news." But look closer. Their tone shifts. The air changes. There's a pause that doesn't belong in their sentence. They might rush to change the subject, or suddenly seem distracted. That's not indifference. That's avoidance. The mind's way of escaping unfinished feelings. When love becomes too painful to hold, the mind protects itself by pretending it's gone. But pretending isn't healing. It's suppression, and suppression has side effects. Tension, irritability, or that strange mix of frustration and nostalgia whenever your name comes up. If they truly didn't care, you wouldn't see a reaction at all. But if they flinch, even slightly, when you're mentioned, that's emotion leaking through restraint. Because unresolved feelings never vanish. They disguise themselves as distance, detachment, or denial. So when someone insists, "I'm over it," yet can't quite look you in the eye, believe their energy, not their words. That quiet defensiveness often says everything they're afraid to feel. Avoidance is not absence. It's proof there's something to avoid. Sign 5, the mirror effect. It's strange how someone who's moved on can still move in rhythm with you. You smile, and they soften. You withdraw, and suddenly they seem colder too. That's not coincidence. That's emotional mirroring. The subconscious reflection of energy between two people who once shared a deep connection. When emotions run strong, the nervous systems of two people begin to sync. Psychology calls it emotional attunement, a silent resonance that doesn't fade easily, even after separation. Their body language, tone, and even breathing patterns may unconsciously adjust to match yours. It's the mind's quiet way of saying, "I still feel you." Imagine running into them unexpectedly. You try to stay calm, detached, yet within moments they mirror your calmness or your hesitation. If you act distant, their warmth dims too. If your guard drops for just a second, theirs follows. It's not intentional. It's instinctual. The emotional imprint you left on them still lives beneath their awareness. Even when apart, this mirroring can surface. You post something lighthearted, and they suddenly seem happier online. You go silent, and they pull back too. Like invisible tides pulling in sync, your emotions still echo in each other's minds. It's a haunting reminder. True connection isn't just memory, it's energetic memory. You may have stopped speaking, but something inside still listens. When minds are connected, emotions sync, even in silence. Sign 6, the reappearance pattern. It always happens when you finally stop thinking about them. Weeks, maybe months of silence. You've accepted the distance. You've moved on, or at least learned to live with it. And then, out of nowhere, they resurface. A story view, a random message, a reaction to something insignificant. It's not a coincidence. It's a pattern. Psychologists call this the reappearance loop, when someone still has unresolved feelings but can't face them directly. Instead of confronting the emotion, they test the connection. They want to feel your presence without having to admit they miss it. It's not about conversation, it's about reassurance. They want to know, are you still there? Do I still matter? So they reach out just enough to keep the thread alive, but not enough to rebuild it. It's emotional self-preservation disguised as curiosity. You might think they finally realized what they lost, but often they haven't. They're not coming back because they're ready. They're coming back because they can't stand the silence of their own mind. The same silence that reminds them what they once had and what they still can't let go of. So when they reappear, remember this. People don't always return out of love. Sometimes they return to feel less alone in their uncertainty, to see if the door is still open, even if they have no intention of walking through it. They return not because they're ready, but because they never truly left. Some people never stop thinking of you. They just learn to hide it better. Because moving on isn't forgetting. It's learning to carry the memory quietly, to live with the echoes, without reaching back to the source. And maybe that's what healing truly means. Not erasing what was once real, but learning to let it exist softly inside you. If you've ever felt someone's silence still holding your name, subscribe, and let's keep decoding the psychology of what we feel.